Okay guys, today I'm going to teach you about why you should never ever tamper with fire alarm equipment for any reason. Remember, these are life safety devices. These were made to save people's lives, to let people know that they have to leave the building immediately because there is a fire emergency. These are not to be messed around with. Don't ever go up to the fire alarm and take it off the wall. Don't ever take the screws off the alarm. Don't ever take the strobe off the alarm. You don't ever paint the alarm. You don't ever do any of that. This thing saves lives, so do not tamper with it. Don't try to take the alarm off the wall. You don't do any of that. This is very important, guys. If you tamper with fire alarms, you are going to get in serious trouble and you are going to get arrested. When you're out in public, these are things you should never do. You don't tamper with fire alarm equipment, you don't pull it, and you don't vandalize it, and you don't do any of that. Only when there's an emergency is when you pull it. Or if you have permission to, by the company for a test or by your principal for a drill is when you pull it. If you have your own fire alarm system at home that doesn't contact the fire department, it is okay to pull it for that reason too, but never ever pull it for fun. If you pull the fire alarm for fun, you are going to get arrested. What do I mean by don't vandalize the fire alarm is don't paint it. You especially don't want to do that. That will make it non-functional. It will still work, but it won't be able to notify people when there is an emergency. So don't do that. Remember, if you paint it, you have to replace it. So don't do that. If you want to do it with your own alarm, that is totally fine, but if you're doing it with an alarm in public, that is not okay at all. When you're in public, you don't unscrew the alarm off the wall, you don't paint it, you don't pull it for fun, and you don't do any of that. Leave it the way it is. Take my words of advice very seriously. When you're out in public, you should not tamper with fire alarm equipment, you should not pull it for fun, and you should not vandalize it, and you should not do any of that. What do I mean by tampering with fire alarm equipment is screwing it and unscrewing it and taking it off the wall. That is what tampering is. You don't do that. That is wrong and unnecessary. So never bring your screwdriver into a public building, because if you do, you might be asking for trouble if you unscrew the fire alarm and take it off the wall to take it with you. You don't ever do that in public. Very important. These are life safety devices, not toys, so never ever mess with this. You never unscrew the alarm off the wall, you never screw it in more, you never paint it, you never do any of that. Leave the alarm the way it is. These are things you should never ever do to fire alarms in public buildings. You don't tamper with them, you don't pull them for fun, and you don't vandalize them. Absolutely not. You are going to get in big trouble or even arrested if you mess with fire alarms in public buildings. So never ever do that. If you want to mess with your own alarm, that is totally fine, but if you're messing with an alarm in public, That is not okay at all. You don't unscrew it off the wall. You don't do any of that. If you want to unscrew your own alarm off the wall, that is okay, but do that to the alarm in a public building, you are going to get in big trouble or even arrested. So, I'm serious. Leave the alarm alone. It is best to keep your screwdriver at home so you don't unscrew things, especially the fire alarm. I mean, don't ever bring your screwdriver into public. Problem solved. That will prevent you from having the temptation to tamper with an alarm. Some fire alarms are very hard to mess with, which is what I like. I mean, many fire alarms have a sealed candela or a sealed tone, so people don't mess around with the tone or candela. And some alarms have a sealed volume and a sealed pattern, so no one can mess around with the volume or pattern. That is good. That they're preventing people from tampering with it. You cannot tamper with these things. These are life safety devices, so do not tamper with this. Don't smash the fire alarm either. That will definitely get you into trouble. If you smash the fire alarm, you are going to get in big trouble and you are responsible for replacing it. Because remember, if you break it, you have to replace it. Don't want to go through that, so do not do anything that will damage the alarm. I'm serious. Leave the fire alarm the way it is. Fire alarms are not a toy to play with. They are a device that can save people's lives. So never ever mess with them. Never put Play-Doh on the alarm. Never put glue or glitter on the alarm. Never do any of that, kids. Remember, because those things will damage the alarm. So don't do it. It is not a smart thing to do. Not at all. And don't ever put stickers on the alarm. Don't do any of that. You don't ever draw on the alarm. You don't do any of that. Leave the alarm the way it is. The reason why there's cages over fire alarms in the gym is so that the balls do not damage the alarm. It protects the alarm from damage if a basketball gets thrown at them. Those cages protect the alarm from damage if a basketball or anything like that gets thrown at them. That's why in a gymnasium there's cages over the fire alarm. And never ever take the cages out, because if you do so, you are going to risk breaking the alarm if a ball gets on it. Those cages protect the alarms from all the basketballs and stuff like that in there, so they don't get damaged fire alarm destruction is a serious crime. I mean, any fire alarm that is broken, you have to replace it. So they're doing a great job in making sure that no one does physical damage to the alarm. What about a fire alarm in an art gallery or anywhere where there's going to be a lot of paint involved? They have to be careful to make sure that the paint doesn't get on the alarm, because if the paint gets on the alarm, it is not going to work anymore. I mean, so you don't mess with fire alarms ever in any building. You can get in big trouble or even arrested if you mess around with fire alarms in public buildings. I mean, if you want to mess with your own alarm, that is totally fine, but if you are messing around with an alarm in public, that will land you into jail, because you're tampering with public safety equipment. Fire alarms save lives, so do not tamper with them. Any misuse or tampering with fire alarms will result in major consequences. I never see anyone try to take the alarm off the wall at school. I never saw anyone try to take an alarm off the wall at school at all, which is good, but I did see someone pull it for fun. I've seen that before, but which is still pretty bad, but at least they did not paint it, they did not take it off the wall, and they did not do any of that, which is good, but what they did do was still very bad. Any fire alarm vandalism, you paint it, you smash it, you have to repair it. So don't do any of that. Leave the alarm alone. This is a life safety device, so never mess with this. Bye.